Summertime crankbaiting. It's time, guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun this season. So here's some quick tips so you can catch more fish on crankbaits. The key thing with these baits is you need to fish them a little bit deeper than what you're targeting. Like, that's the main thing. A lot of people think it's color, but the primary one is that, because say for example, you're fishing 8 feet of water, you want a crankbait that runs 9 to 10 foot deep. And the reason for that is you want it to ricochet off the bottom. You want to hit things. You want to aim for objects, be it a stump or a rock, something like that, or any kind of object on the bottom. It goes down and it hits at it does a quick hesitation stop and it bounces off of it in a different direction. That erratic movement, that sudden change in direction, often triggers a bite. That's the key to getting more bites. So fishing a bait that's a little bit deeper is the key thing. Wider wobble, that's what you want. So a bill it's a rounded, wider bill. It makes the bait wobble like this. The tighter wiggle crankbaits, those are better in the cooler months. So stay away from those that got the narrow, thin bill. Yeah, don't do that. The wider bill works a lot better. As far as where to fish them, well, anywhere that's got a point, a ledge, even bluffs can work really well during the summertime. I like fishing a shallow bank that's near deep water. So maybe a creek channel comes in, or maybe you've got a steep bank and then it flattens out a little bit, and then there's a steep bank next to it. Or maybe there's a point that comes right up next to a shallow area. Like those areas, the bass can move up shallow, feed, and come back down relatively quickly without moving a far distance. So those are gonna be hot spots to look for. And if they've got chunk rock on it, or scattered stumps, patchy weeds, things like that, even better. That works really good. You can take your crankbait, run it down there and bounce it off those objects, or even take the top of the weeds and then rip it out of the weeds. That sudden change of direction can work, again, to trigger a bite. Sometimes what you do is you hesitate. If you can't bounce it off things, you can force that action, crank it down and then just do a pause. Stop for a couple seconds and then reel again. Just that sudden stop. A lot of times the bass are following it and you stop it, it's in their face and they have to react, they have to bite it. So that's a good way of catching them. I fish the crankbaits relatively fast. A lot of guys like to fish them a bit slower. I fish them fast because I want that bass he has to react to it. I'm forcing him to bite it. So he doesn't have time to look at it and decide. It's like it's going by him and either he acts now or it's gone forever. And a lot of times you get him to react that way. So moving it a bit faster works really well during the warmer months because they're super active and the water temperatures are up. If you're in a pond, a shallow pond, or you're bank fishing, a squarebill crankbait that runs 1.5 to 2.5 foot deep really helps you figure out like what's on the bottom, what kind of structure is there. You can find the deeper pockets that you might want to go back and throw a Senko into, or something, a plastic or a jig that you can work those deeper pockets. But you can just walk along the bank and throw in that squarebill, and you can catch a lot of fish that way too. They'll be up shallow along those weed edges, or along a dock, something like that, in kind of cover, and you can bounce it off of that with a squarebill without fear of getting hung up, and you can catch a lot of fish that way. So don't be afraid to throw crankbaits, even if you're fishing from the shoreline. One other thing to keep in mind is watch your weather. I know that you don't get the big fronts that come through that you've seen in spring or in the fall or even in the wintertime, but you still do get some fronts that come through, and crankbaiting tends to be better on a falling barometer. As a storm is approaching, or as a front is coming in, as that barometer drops, the fish get more active, or just before the storm hits can be really good. Just make sure you get off the water because you don't want to be in a bad situation. I'm talking thunder and lightning here. You don't want to be in that or get caught up in a suddenly wind, just boom, it's on you. It can be a bad situation from a boating standpoint. But even if you're on the shoreline, you don't want to be out there when it's lightning out, guys. It's very, very dangerous. Go catch fish another day. But as the storm is approaching, maybe a day before or that day of, and that barometric pressure is dropping, that can be a really good time to throw crankbaits. If it's a rising barometer, you can still try crankbaits, but the bite typically isn't as good. So keep that in mind, and I hope you catch a lot of fish this summer. For more tips and tricks like this, visit bassresource.com.